G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by my partners in crime, SpaceTomato and Astropub. Fresh-faced and fancy-free back from Citizencon, both of you.
Yeah, we got to sniff each other's hair. We were missing.
We did a show live. It was interesting.
I watched it. Terrible microphones, but I still waddled through
it. Devils, was what we had. We got nothing crazy. So
hey, man. Yeah. Join my Patreon.
I'd heard rumors too, Space, and I want you to confirm. Does Paul have feet? I've never seen them. I've just heard rumors. Is this real? Like, and are they attached to legs? Like, up until this point, I've only experienced this part up. So,
now that you bring it up, I don't recall ever seeing shoes.
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm not sure. Maybe he was just kind of floating around.
They forced me to wear pants. Yeah. I couldn't wear. I couldn't go completely naked down below. So,
but they were just hanging at the bottom, flapping around on the ground,
flapping around as they floated around as a disembodied torso.
So I guess I'll ask you, what was like some big takeaways from Citizencon from the pair of you?
It's hype.
It's my third Citizencon, so like,
it
was the best Citizencon.
Yeah,
this was my first.
Yeah,
I've viewed every single one, and I'd say it's the definitely the most biggest information dump we've ever received. But one thing I'm hearing out from a lot of people that I never kind of really got the context before, of someone that's never been to one myself, is I never quite understood why they were not online, and I'm getting this real sense of community that's come out about it that I never really, and it's kind of been highlighted a lot by what happened in the last couple of years with COVID and stuff, because they've been missing that momentum of us feeding them as much as they feed us, and that was a big thing that I've learned about this Citizencon, and I hope that continues, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that, like, as long as you're not a really, really like overly aggressive or really like kind of awkward kind of person, most of the devs were really easy to talk to. I talked with a bunch of devs that I had never even heard of or seen before, like the head of the LA office. He was just chilling in a corner, and I walked up. He had a CIG shirt on. And I went up and talked with him for a bit and found out he's the head of development for CIG LA. And I was talking with him. He used to work for DC, and he used to work for a bunch of Hollywood stuff. And I asked him about like what he used to do. And apparently he had done this big promotion for Comic-Con for an event, and they ended up canceling Comic-Con. He's like, "You're not canceling Comic-Con. I just spent 3 months organizing this whole dang thing." Or no, it wasn't. It was San Diego Comic-Con. It's like, not doing it. And then they canceled Comic-Con entirely. And his experience with moving from movies to video games, it was an interesting discussion. So that's the kind of thing that's really nice about CitizenCon, is that it really strips away those layers of onlineness, where you can talk with developers and you can talk with other players and talk with content creators, and it's that kind of thing. That's the real interesting part about how humanizing it is.
Yeah, it's definitely. I would have never expected it to have been such a enjoyable experience. I mean, I knew it was going to be fun. I was looking forward to it for sure. But at the same time, you're going to this big social experience with a bunch of people you've never met that you have known online. So you got that like sort of little wall of awkwardness that you might have. And it's just boom, gone like that. Like nobody cares. Everybody's there just having a good time. Super chill.
It's people you've known for years who you've just met for the first time. It's the camaraderie is crazy. It's a surreal experience to meet people you've known for years. But it's like, yeah, we've all known each other. We've seen each other on cameras, or like, I know who you are. You're in my chat. I heard you, remember your voice, that kind of thing. Like, it just falls away instantly. Like,
it's just like it was good, man.
So when I went to the Bar Citizen kind of like last year, this happened to me, so I'm assuming it happened to you. The first thing is, everyone in there you got rapport with, because you can talk about anything Star Citizen and you just kind of click with people. But the weird one for me was people walking up and they had name tags on, and they'd start talking to me like I was their best friend. And I had never talked to this person in my life. And then I read the name tag, and then I go, "Oh!" But for me, they knew my face, so it was like instant for them. But there was a disconnect for me, so I felt like I was playing catch up every time I talked to someone.
I have to ask Tomato this. Tomato, did you have the same problem where like you'd walk 5 feet and someone would scream your name?
Yeah, it was I was not prepared for that.
I wasn't ready for it either. Like, it was just, you walk in and everyone knows you. Because like I don't see myself as a really big content creator. I mean, I do well, but like of this like like I'm a little bit bigger like than the Inforunners channel, and SpaceTomato is much bigger than me in both of his channels, and you know I'm sitting there with Morph and Zero and all these other folks who's like, they're all much bigger than me. But some people would walk up and just start talking to me directly and like ignore Tomato or ignore Zero, and it was just like, you know, that these people are right?
Dude, Lord
like they're much bigger than I am.
Size doesn't matter though. That's the thing. Like there are even people who are there who you don't even make content, and you just got somebody walking up to them and being like, "Yo, I can't believe I'm meeting you." That was the coolest part.
Yeah. I was like, freaking The Few was there and people were still calling him out. And The Few hasn't made content in years for Star Citizen.
Yeah. That being said, I did hang out with like me and Morph were together quite a bit, and trying to go and do things was like we tried to go get water at one point because we stepped away from the panel, and it took forever.
Yeah, that was my experience.
I tried
to go get lunch, and it was every 5 feet. It was just like Paul. It's like, okay.
It was a lot of fun though. I loved meeting everybody. Somebody gave me a tomato. Somebody gifted me an actual tomato. I was over the moon. It was great.
Like a little plant or just the tomato?
The actual fruit, the tomato.
Oh, interesting. I've realized in my haste, I haven't told people what this episode's about. We've just started talking. This is for anyone that doesn't know. When we actually,
Citizen, probably.
Well, the effect of Citizencon on AIE is what I wanted to talk about. But when we actually get together, we very rarely get together at the same time. And even as we record this, there are other Inforunners listening to us, right? So because that's how hard it is for us to get together. So we've all been sitting here for almost an hour just talking about all this shit catching up, and that's why we've just continued as we've gone into the episode. So long story short, that's what I want to talk about today. So the things that you saw that you think will have an effect on AI, and I'll kick the bat off the rank, the ball rolling, so to speak. Base building was a huge one. The number of people that have been coming to me asking me about the Pioneer and how they get the Pioneer and stuff like that. The other one that I think a lot of people haven't considered is the Idris. Now, if this game comes out at Citizencon next year, not saying it will, but if it does, it means we've got 2 sales left before the Idris goes up in price. You know, things like that. So all those things are going to start to affect AIE, and not to mention other ships that come out as Squadron 42 comes online as well. So yeah. Give me an example in your thought process of something that you saw at Citizencon that you think is going to affect AIE.
I don't know. I mean, like it's on the screen right over here, but I think possibly
it's like I took notes and put them up for you so you could just pick one. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was thinking like for instance, like you said base building, but like a lot of the mysterious MCV, which has been leaked for a long time.
Yep.
I think we might actually see like the Galaxy gets sold. Its module, that is the crafting module, might get sold at this next one. We might see more modules being sold because there's a lot of stuff that was shown with like the MPUV was shown without a module. Which just why would they have the MPUV? Oh, because it's going to get its modules. Like the Retaliator modules. There's so many things that like modularization, like they're finally they've talked about how they're close they are. And now they're finally to that point where like, hey, we've got it. Now it's just a matter of implementing it. So it's
to speak to that, Mr. Tomato does actually have a very good video on that where he talks about the reality. Well, I'll let you speak yourself, Space. But
I mean, I didn't include the Argo MPUV in there, and have been reminded multiple times that I didn't.
Shame on you.
The whole point.
You forgot the king.
The whole point was like all of the stuff they said about the Retaliator, right? Like they literally said just 3 or 4 months ago, they were like, yeah, you know, there's nothing else stopping us from doing modularity. And then like a year before that, they were on video saying the first ship we're going to do modularity with is the Retaliator. So I'm like, okay, well, they said that and they said that and they put Tally on here. It feels like that's how they're going to introduce it. Argo MPUV, maybe same patch, next patch, I don't know. But like, yeah, it seems like modularity could push sales with the Galaxy. I think the Perseus could be something that picks up a little bit just because now it's been confirmed it's going to be worked on. But like, as always, the Polaris.
I'm just thinking about like modularity, like all those ships that come around again that need to be detailed out. So you've got like the Redeemer, Paul's favorite ship, the Caterpillar, things like that, where they're going to have to go back and actually talk about those modules and how they work. There's a few of them that just said it's got modularity.
let me clarify something about CIG's team, and this is something I did learn at CIG, talking with some of the CIG teams. Like I've famously said, and I think John Crew actually is the one who told me this. I famously said the way that CIG makes stuff is that if they think it's cool, they'll do it, and then they'll figure it out later. Like they'll come up with a cool idea. It might have some light connection with the gameplay, but they just want to do cool shit because they're artists. Artists do cool shit. Like
Caterpillar was a bad case of that, I think.
Yeah, and so I think when we see the Caterpillar actually coming out with like when the inside modules coming out, they'll just come up with cool shit. They'll just come up with crazy things to do. Like everyone wants the broadside. They'll do a broadside. I can almost guarantee you they'll do a broadside module where you just open the side and it's a giant cannon that sticks out and fires like a beam or something like that because that's just it's cool. It works. It makes sense. So. Like, yeah, so a lot of the stuff we're going to see is just going to be what CIG comes up with on the fly as like kind of a, and by the way, when I said John Crew, I'm not saying John Crew specifically said that. I'm just saying like a lot of the stuff, the way that they talk was very similar.
Get your torches and pitchforks.
And before I burn all my reputation I gained with John Crew now.
Confirmed via Paul by John Crew.
Yes. But it's like that's their process, and so like a couple of dev teams with a beer at a pool table, and I guarantee you there will be 15 modules pitched by them in like a night, and they'll come up with them and they'll get them done in like a month or two. Like that's the kind of like the creativity flow that they do with these sorts of things. So.
As long as they're not variants.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
From modulars to variants.
Yeah. And I think you can safely say there'll be a pirate salvage skew being a Drake ship, but we'll see what happens with that down the line. But I just find that's interesting. There's all these ships that we've been waiting to hear info on for literally years at this point. That now, because of as Space said in his video with modularity, we may actually finally get some of those answers. But you are right. It could just be we didn't know what we were going to do. So yeah.
My thing is like people look at that slide and see those ships on there and they think we're just getting the gold standard Retaliator pass. And I feel like that would be insane for them to just update the Retaliator and have it on there.
They even they said when they were doing the gold pass that they're going to put the modules in. So they're right, but it's more than what they think it is.
Yeah. I mean, gold pass means modularity.
My point for IAE, I think, is we'll see a lot of modules. I think we'll start to see a lot of modules, at least the first wave of modules for different ideas. Like maybe the MPUV will get some modules that they'll sell for it, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So
I'm excited to see a ship like the Retaliator updated to their new standards because that's an older ship.
It's going to be a great standard because it's the first ever large ship that went in game. So you can now start to look at all the ships behind it. So straight off the bat, I go Starfarer because that was the very next ship after the Retaliator. And if we look at how, like, we can now see this massive jump in progression. So we're going to be able to apply that to everything else and go, right, now every ship you can see, oh, it's got this weird issue. That'll eventually nick off because this ship has got it. It's going to be a really great pass to see, quite honestly. But the thing that's scary is how long it's taken. Like now they're going to do that with all the other ships. Like, but
hopefully it's just like Star Systems. It took them forever to do Stanton and Pyro, and
yes,
as they go, they can get a little bit faster.
Yeah, so hopefully they learned a lot and basically can apply it quicker. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I hope that's the way it goes. All right, so we've talked a little bit about how that's going to affect. I think the other thing is I think sales are going to go through the roof. I think people were talking before, even before the F8C Lightning dropped, that there was an 8% decrease year on year for sales. I think the F8C almost on its own might have taken care of that, but it's definitely with the Pioneer and the hype around Squadron 42. I was just thinking, how many new people are going to come in at AIE?
What still confuses me is why they still haven't sold Squad 42. Like they're leaving money on the table at this point with the hype that they're building. It's like,
absolutely.
Why?
Yeah, that is strange. What's going on with that?
Yeah. Like how many people would have signed up for that game on the spot if it was available to buy?
Before, because I know I can hear the clickety clacks of people being like, the German law that says, and it's like, but the problem is that CIG never addressed it as if it was a legal issue. They simply said it was a price issue. Now, as much as, CIG is going to say whatever, that's true, but they could have easily just said it's an issue with the law. We're complying with law. They've said that before with updates. Like someone got in trouble with some European-based ad agency because they said something in one of their emails, and the the European like regulatory agency said, "Hey, don't do this," and they said, "Yep, we're sorry, we won't do this," and then they just changed it. Like it's very simple for them to do that, and they've done it in the past. It's very odd for them to not address it, but address it as a price change, which is like a why? Like, where is it then? You know?
Well, the website itself has different pricings for different regions, so why not just sell it in other regions, not Germany as well? You know?
There's a lot of question about that, and it just seems weird that we don't see that, but that them capitalizing on that hype that they intentionally were building.
A lot of lost hype there. I really agree. Space,
but I think even without all of the other stuff that's been going on, just Citizencon on its own, I think would have helped the funding catch back up this year.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be a mammoth AIE, and I am terrified. Plus, because I already don't get sleep. And Citizencon was later this year, so I don't have the recovery. I'm still getting my sleep back in check.
Less than a month.
Oh, I'm so dead. Anyway,
can we talk about the ships that they showed in that kind of hype slide that they did, and which one of those maybe we could see this year at IAE? Because like we've got some stuff that they've been working on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they've been working on that all kind of, it sounds like they want to have out by the end of this year. A lot. Didn't
they say 12 ships in the next? It was 12 ships by in the next 12 months, I think they said, didn't they?
There's that graph from Citizencon that has the squares and shows, and at the bottom, the number of squares that says out by the end of 2023, I think there's like 12 of them. Now, in my stream, we were wondering if that meant all of the ships they wanted out this year, all the ships they wanted out between that moment and the end of the year. And the way we counted it seemed like if it was all for this year, then it would have been complete, which we know there's got to be another ship coming this year. So I think that might have meant 12 ships before the end of the year, 12 vehicles.
Yeah.
I don't know if that includes variants of the G12 and stuff, but that's a lot.
It's difficult to do. I think the other one I forgot to mention too, sorry, just to slip this in there real quick, was the RSI Minor is confirmed as a concept. So we know what the big ship is for this year. So actually, if you work through with the unannounced and leaks and stuff, you can actually kind of work out what all the ones are that are coming. Which is interesting. But as you said, we've never had 12 ships just drop like that. That is a mammoth patch to drop.
I'm not sure if I don't know. Maybe I read it wrong or something. It's just it's a lot of vehicles.
It's a ship a month for a year.
Let's lay out some of the details that we already know. SRV is coming out soon. Yeah. We know the SRV is coming out in 3.21.1. We know that there's two variants of the two variants of the Spirit. At least one of them is going to be coming out. I think it's the C1.
Three variants of the G12.
The three variants of the G12. But we don't know, is that coming out this year or is that coming out?
We don't know.
We just know they're ready to go.
The X1 is in
three variants of those
white box. Yeah, those three variants.
I'm going to run out of figures here, Space. I'm going to need some in a minute.
And then we also have the Centaur Yai, which is definitely coming out at IAE because that's done. And then that leaves the Storm. Yeah, that's coming out at IAE as well. And that leaves two other ships for 12 that we can just point out right away. And they easily have two in concept somewhere. I talked with with a couple of the
Scout Expedition. They did talk about that. That was blurry, so that's 11.
Yeah.
You think that counts? Okay. And then maybe one last straight to flyable. And
then the thing is like, I don't know if all of those are straight to flyable, but I think a lot of those are coming in. And then you also have things like the MCV, which has been leaked forever, and we saw at least the first portion of it, like right there. That's likely the MCV.
And the fact that they've shown it as well makes me think that it's really likely to be there. Like they don't slip on shit like that. They just don't.
Yeah, that'd be a big slip.
Yeah.
It was a big part of that, and it was like, oh, this is that. Yeah, and for anyone who's wondering, well, that's weird. It looks like it's on a chassis. Well, we just talked about modularity. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about modularity. So,
it feeds into that base building hype because you've got the old ships that will now sell heaps more and a new one. It actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you think they're just introducing it as a concept, and maybe
what if it's
they would sell That's easy concept set. Like
Yeah.
that's what $180 for this, because it's like that's about what they cost for like the Spartan.
It's almost a Spartan and a half. What was it? 140 for the ballista. I think it was 140. So like another 40, and so it's half as long again. Yeah, easy.
Easy 150 to 100. Okay. Probably a 180 full price and 160 like warbond. Something like that.
So those like 12 ships or however many that we were talking about, you guys think include in-game and concepts?
Yes, I think those may include concepts as well as things like the module, the crafting module for the Galaxy. Could possibly, because that's basically a brand new ship once you slap that thing into the Galaxy. So the Galaxy changes entirely.
If that all drops, though, that's definitely making up for the quiet year we've had. That's what I'm gonna say.
we also have. I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on, just like I don't have my hat because like Execute and Al for the last video, but we've been talking about an ambulance, an Ursa ambulance, for months and months, for like years now, and it's been something that we've seen mentions or some hints at possibly an ambulance, like a ground-based ambulance, and then they had that Ursa in the in that thing. That's an easy, like, it's either I thought it was either it's the Ursa or it's the Marine Rapid Response Vehicle, which is what Ursa's based off of, the military version of the Ursa. So
I don't disagree with either of those. Space.
How about the other ground vehicle that we saw in that?
The bike that
looked like
the bike,
but kind of tumbrel, maybe.
Yeah, so this was a difficult one because me and Agard went over this, right? And there's two that we pulled out manufacturer-wise. Tumbrel is a really obvious one because of the shape of that back area, and I saw you point that out on your video. And I've heard people say, what if it's the Ranger and they just took the wheels off? And I'm like, no, it's completely different. But Agard pointed out that there's a vehicle in World War II that was a track-based bike. So what if you take the tracks off the Nova and the Storm and essentially put it on a bike? Would that work?
It would still have this. You'd have the same problem that the bike has, because we know specifically from CIG that the bike physics are a problem.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
if they're going to build a brand new bike physics for just one vehicle, they're going to make like 17 vehicles. Yep. Like that's not how CIG is. Like if we're going to invest time and effort into making physics that work for a bike, then you're going to see a dozen bikes of different makes and models out there.
And there is an advantage to it. So things like sand and snow, this thing would operate on it a lot better. Like extreme,
like a snowmobile.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, but better than a hovercraft.
It might not
the
have
ranges,
as much
the
electronic
ranges
signatures.
The range is a thing. You got to remember the range is a thing, and we also know now that through several things. Me and Agard have speculated this for quite a bit, but again, even if you look at the way base build are going, they're giving different levels of things. So remember when you and I were talking about the buildings back earlier in the year, and they had low, medium, and high tech, or low, medium, and levels. So again, if you look at something like Drake, it's probably going to run on fuel and be low level. You go to high design like Origin, and it's high tech and probably runs on batteries or something. So you got different effects. Even in games, you'll see like an EMP go off on they mentioned on their snoperscopes, right? If an EMP goes off and it's a digital one, it gets turned off, but if it's an analog one, it doesn't get turned off. So we're seeing different levels of tech across all parts of the game. So I think it may be a thing. We'll have to wait and see. The last thing I'll add to it is it did have a fair bit of little orange on it, so it might be even Argo. That's the last part I'll put out there. But I'm all speculation on that part. Is there anything else?
I would love to see. I like Tumbrel's sort of, like, their design language has kind of grown on me, especially the Storm I really like. So I'd love to see like a small hovercraft to compete with the hover quad from them with that sort of style they have with the tanks. It feels like it's a little bit more brutalist, maybe just a little bit like more hard military-esque.
I think you're going to get your wish after seeing the boat in Squadron 42. The Gator hovercraft thing, I can totally see that now. Going out in the swamps and hunting some kind of
Star Citizen.
super
we call
eel.
them fan boats.
Yeah,
we call them fan boats. X.
But you can imagine all the alien creatures that they can make. The big octopus thing that comes out of the water, like in Lord of the Rings, a giant eel. Yeah. You name it. And I find stuff under the water far more terrifying than stuff that's on the land that I can run from. All right, so we've also got here CIG expectations realistic is what we've put in the notes here. So straight off the bat, all the stuff that we saw from Citizencon, do you guys think that it's that's realistic that we're going to have that in the next 12 months.
Yeah, because CIG did say that almost all of that was going to be in the next 12 months. Some of it was going to be before the end of the year.
Be very, they were very, he was very careful to say a lot of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not all of it.
I've always taken it as that is their best intention. Every time they meet a date, I'm like, or miss a date, I'm like, well, they tried, and they often miss it.
How much of what we saw was also stuff that was in the last Citizencon, like the movement system, the HUDs, the travel systems, like all of that stuff was stuff that they were talking about in the last Citizencon, and now they're desperately trying to get it in before the end of the year. A lot of that stuff before the end of the year, so it can be like, see, we got it within 12 months.
But we all sat here last
year
and all said, no, they won't have pyro by the end of next year. And tomorrow,
I mean,
as we record this, I
was looking at things like. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you
go ahead. No, you go. I was looking at stuff from last year, like the platforming and EVA stuff, and some of that more simple stuff. Yeah, I thought we'd have by now. And letter from the chairman, I think doubled down on that in the beginning of the year, but PES seemed to just mess everything up, or at least a lot of stuff up. Maybe that cascaded. I don't know, but yeah, a lot of that stuff that we saw at last year's Citizencon didn't show up. And we know it was working pretty well because they had it working in closed instances of the engine. So now we're seeing it in a more polished form in an actual game environment that looks like it's basically about ready. Now, I'm not going to make the same mistake and say, oh, well, obviously we're going to get it now because it looks more ready.
Just do this space.
But
how much do you think is going to make it before the end of the year, though? Like
the end of this year?
Engine stuff. Because remember, they said a lot of the stuff.
No, I don't think.
Was supposed to come in 3.22. There was a bunch of stuff that they talked about. They said was in 3.22.
I think we will probably see the dusters. We'll see some of the new faces. We'll see some of the cloud and lighting improvements. We will see new missions, new derelicts in Stanton, new derelict settlements. And I wouldn't expect anything else. They didn't explicitly say anything else was coming as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, whenever they would explicitly say it's coming in 3.22 if it was coming in 3.22.
Agreed.
Right.
It's explicitly say
or quarter four.
Quarter four.
Bounce back and forth, yeah.
But 3.22 is quarter four. It's been confirmed. That's the plan. So the one thing I will say to set expectations is things like we might get replication layer because it's something they really want to do. And I was surprised at how much magic replication layer seems to be based off of what they've said. And of course, statements from Benoit and other members saying, yeah, it's going a lot faster than they thought it was. It was a lot easier than they thought it was.
We do say this, don't we? Sometimes things take longer and sometimes things go really bloody quickly. And that's a good example.
I have a flashback to OCS times, which maybe for those of you who are watching who are older, I remember when OCS first came out. This was like client-side OCS. Like the person who was in charge of it was like, was doing it, and they talked about how they flicked it on and it just worked, and it, like the FPS went up and everything was great, and they were like,
best laid plan.
Yes. And like apparently like stood up and started shouting like yes like it was better than they've ever hoped before that it was going to work. And
yeah, it was great. We got above 10 frames per second.
and that's the feeling I'm getting with server meshing and like the replication layer. Like that's what, like when they're talking about it, it's a less enthusiastic, but it's a lot of it worked.
And it's
not broken.
They kind of hint at that too, with it being a little bit not as difficult as PES. And then I won't say not as difficult, but like not the same.
Not as complicated. Yeah. Or not as complicated. Not as intensive or whatever, because like, they didn't think they need as much testing for it. It would be more simple for them too.
If you even go back to the server meshing presentation itself, they had only ever theorized this until they showed that demo. And what did he say? 3 days or 3 weeks?
3 weeks. It had 3 weeks before then.
Never even knew it existed. Like it was just all theory, pie in the sky, best laid plans.
They were working on tech for sure. Like the tech's been the actual technology of it's been there for like 4 years. They've been building it, but in terms of it actually working as a full package, it's kind of crazy that they just got it.
Well, I remember you doing videos on it when they first talked about the sharding and stuff, right? They were, because they knew that iCache wasn't going to work and stuff like that. It's just as they've gone along, there has been hurdles that we are not getting the 100% originally planned game. It's been changed and morphed as they've done development, research and R&D, and
that's kind of how games are made, though.
Exactly.
Like the games, no game is ever the exact same thing that they thought of at the very beginning of the development, because a lot of times games are made and they come to the actual stage, like say Squadron's in right now, where like they got all the basic features in, they start playing it and they're like, holy shit, it's boring, or like, it's bad. Like that's happened. There are far more games that have been started development and were abandoned mid development than will ever be games that are developed and released, even with like years of work and money poured into it, just because they were boring or they just didn't work.
If people are disappointed by missed scope, they should see my intro to computer science final, because that was downgraded from the initial vision for sure. And I made some promises. Like I told the teacher, I was like, "You're gonna get all this and more."
There. All right. So the last thing I kind of want to talk about is the things we didn't see and that we may see later. So, Space, I'll let you kick this off because this was kind of your idea. So go ahead, mate.
Yeah, I don't know what to pick on. I mean, we've heard a little bit about the economy stuff. I think the most disappointing thing for me that wasn't there was sort of a double down on scanning, detection, and sort of how that would play into our quantum boost travel exploration. 50,000 kilometers. Can I scan that far? What can I get from scanning that far? Can I get signatures? Like there was no further dive into pretty big part of gameplay that both we kind of are going to need for Pyro, exploring resources, for finding fuel and stuff like that, but also for the Cutter Scout, the ship that they introduced at Citizencon with their fancy dish.
Here, buy this. We don't know what it does, but here, buy this. That's what I felt like. But I agree. I've been saying, I think I've said it both to you at some point, is that scanning is the last real piece of that core gameplay of pirates, escorts and, something valuable. So whether it's cargo or whatever, someone has something valuable, the pirates can find it with scanning and come and steal it. At the moment, they can't do that because if you watch anyone like Moist Noodle, Agent Letty, Zero State, any of the people that do piracy, they do it all manually. And people bitch like crazy, but you know how hard it is to find someone manually in this game? Like it's so hard.
It's hard.
So if you think it's bad now, just wait till scanning comes because you're going to be crying. And I think it's a good thing because it's going to force people to do the escorting stuff.
It's like we're so close, right? We have exploration. You can get paid for exploration gameplay in the game right now. And we have all these loops. We have people go and find the mineable rocks. People go and get the mineable rocks. Somebody takes it to the refinery and finds it. Somebody takes it to the place and sells it. We have this whole loop, but you can't actually go to a planet, scan the surface of the planet and be like, oh, this planet has this and this and this and this on it. Now we go and locate that. You have to fly all the way down to the ground. And that's just not that's not the scanning that we need them to develop right now. And it's so weird that they didn't say anything about it throughout this whole year and then now at the Citizencon.
I think the only real bit of information I got was that they merged the ping and radar system. That was the one thing the only thing I kind of really took out of the whole thing. Well, not the only thing, but the big thing.
I think that's the big thing is that I think they spent so much time merging all of the different systems together. Like the HUD system is not just the HUD system; it's the map, the local map, the MFDs, the visor. Like they're all the same system now. They're all built on the same framework, not just the framework, but they're all built off the same. Like they're all built together in one chunk. So. And that's the same thing with like the scanning system, the map and the scanning system are all connected together. So like they're all connected together. And I think they've spent so much time on the basic fundamentals for these that like long range scanning became like
it's definitely background.
It's not a squadron thing, whatever. You're not flying a terrapin around a squadron. Let's just not worry about it kind of thing. So
it's not a high priority for them. And I get that. I wish it was there, but it does seem like you said they've combined the radar and ping, and I think we've seen a couple other things come out a little bit about that seem like they're working on it, so maybe something next year, maybe. I don't know.
Hopefully we get an ISC on it or something like that. I personally, I really hope when we get into this quarterly patch cycle, that we actually get like a mini Citizencon every quarter eventually. But
a pillar talk.
Yeah, essentially. But we'll have to wait and see down the line. All right, Paul, what's one that you expect we might see later from Citizencon?
Bounty hunting was the weird one. There's so many updates to bounty hunting that, like, they've talked about the new way of doing pods. Now, to be fair, I was pretty sure they weren't going to do bounty hunting because that ISC 2 weeks before Citizencon had bounty hunting pods. So it was like,
that would have been prime for a bounty hunting update.
Yeah. And Chris wanted bounty hunting version 2 to be in game before 4.0. So if we're not even close to bounty hunting anytime soon, it might mean that
we're
not close to 4.0 anytime soon.
I mean, bounty hunting depends on virtual AI. Mm-hmm. We didn't hear about quantum. So like, what does that mean?
That was the other thing. Yeah, that's the other one. The economy. Nothing about the economy. Me and Tomato talked about it right there when we were right at the con. We were like, we got no information.
Everyone was expecting Tony Z to be there. Like, it was one of the, I can't wait to hear the Tony Z panel. It'll be amazing. I heard that a lot. But just wasn't there. So.
Yeah, I did talk to one of the economy guys, and he sounded like things are going well for them. But not much else besides that.
Well, they've changed their name now, haven't they? They're no longer Quantum Team. They're now the Economy Team. So they
So he was on it before the name got changed. Yeah. There was already this sort of de facto. He was kind of the economy guy, I guess, and now they've built a bigger team around that. So they're focusing on it, but whatever is going on is background, and I'm sure people talk. God, I got asked so many times if I saw the Benoit interview about it last week.
Yeah. All right, and the last
Benoit said it's coming. So that was it. So.
All right, and the last one that takes me kind of back to what I call the Turducken in the preview images, aka the Legionnaire, that kind of leads to hacking coming. We know that's part of the gameplay, and there's reports that I've heard from people, because people bring me shit, right? That apparently that it's a little bit like Pac-Man, like a little Pac-Man mini game. This hacking thing.
That was always before.
The plan.
Yeah,
that was always the plan.
But they switched that up, didn't they? They changed it to something that was a little more
change that up.
So we'll see what happens with that. But are you guys expecting that one as well? Well, I guess you are from what you're saying.
Yeah. It sounded like they were fixing it to be a little bit more about, like, you select a specific piece of code and insert it into the whatever it's called, thing compiler, program? Whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that Mass Effect version of hacking, but instead of just like random blocks of text, it's actual stuff.
So you're actually inserting viruses and code. Is that some kind of interesting? Interesting.
I'm afraid that CIG is going to default to the same basic one, and they're going to get the same backlash they did with the golf swing mechanic that they just ended up just repackaging as the ping mechanic because they didn't want to get people mad. But we'll see, because I think there's the pressure to publish, in the sense that, like, they got to get hacking into Squadron, so they got to get it out, and they're like, internal dates. There's been so many reports that their internal dates are 12 months. So, or at least like theorize that there's 12 months. We got, October 2024. They got to get it done. So, like, but might just decide, screw it, Pac-Man it is. It's what we got. So,
man, they've been working on it for such a long time. I hope they've got something good for it.
That said, the mining gameplay we have now is still I think it's the best mining I've kind of seen in any other game. So if that's all we kind of get, and I think we're going to get more than that, I'll still be pretty happy. But yeah, hopefully a little bit more. All right. In the comments below, Space, what would you like to hear from people below?
I guess I honestly would like to hear kind of how they feel about CIG's expectations here. We know that there's a lot of developers shifting back over to the PU. Squadron 42 is supposedly in polishing. Things are very much in flux. I would say it feels kind of like last year, where we didn't really know what we were going to get going into the next year. So I'd be interested in hearing what people think of CIG's expectations in delivering these features a lot over the next 12 months, and what they think might slip.
Paul, same question.
I want to know what theoretical ships you think might be coming out within the next 12 months to fill that void that CIG seems to do. Like, what are we going to see? More crafting ships? Are we going to see more varieties of fighters now that Squadron is out? So a lot of those fighters that might be Squadron specific or combat specific. Maybe we see the legendary cruiser the integrity style cruiser that that's been hinted at from the trailer, where we see some of those being sold at CIG. Like, what ships do you think are coming out between now and next year? So,
and why is one of them a pub ship? Yeah. Right.
Yes.
And from you guys, I'd like to hear in the comments below. Do you think they can deliver everything they said they would like to try and deliver by 12 months from now? So it seems very lofty to me, being someone that's followed the game as long as I have. But again, that whole breaking of the dam thing, I have been saying, the closer we get, the more is going to come. So if it does start to snowball from here, and I think you guys would agree with me, if we get more in the next patch and then more and then more, it is a sign. I think it is a sign that they may reach that. But if we're just getting the same little trickle we've been getting, no. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's a lot to do with that. That's a lot to do with what they're going to do. Like 3.22, I think is going to set the tone. What is in 3.22? And if it's more than we think, then I think it's a good sign. If it's less than we think, it's a bad sign. If it's what we think, then
And that first update in February will be very telling.
February, March. Yeah.
After the meetings, that says a lot too. Yeah. All right, Paul or Astropub, where and what are you doing soon? And where can people find you?
So I am doing a 24-hour charity stream of the Captain's Table. X is on there. I think Tomato. I got to find a spot for Tomato to
He'll be there. He can just come on the end.
We're working on
Space. Just come on the end with me because he's like he's drunk. It is so good, and you just carry the whole show and ask him stupid questions.
I'm drunk.
Yeah, he's just it's the funniest thing. It's like I look forward to it every year. It's like pure bliss
because you just have to get up at 2:00 in the morning and go for 4 hours. So
yeah. See, that's the thing is your times are interesting.
Oh, now, and you'll get a brief glimpse of what it's like for me to do these shows. So yeah.
And then so we're doing that Captain's Table. CIG is actually, I reached out to CIG and they agreed to give us some ships. So thank you CIG for that. So we're going to give away some ships for that, and we're going to try to be raising $5,000 for Medicons Sans Frontières. I can't say my French, but Doctors Without Borders.
Yep.
So we'll be lots of folks coming on talking about Citizencon, about the end of the year, just kind of discussing a little bit about our experiences and kind of the vibe and checking out for next year. And it's going to be every 3 hours is a new group of folks coming on. So it's a variety of people.
Roughly 20 people, I think, signed up on there already. So you've got quite a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks.
Yeah. People want to be on the Captain's Table, man.
Yeah. Space, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Really, if you just Google search SpaceTomato, you won't find that. Not many things are named that. So got 2 YouTube channels, SpaceTomato 2. I stream on Twitch. We got a Discord server, website.
Have you got anything coming up?
Podcasts.
You got anything coming up? Any good shows you want to kind of give a sneak peek on?
I mean, I'm just working on some Citizencon coverage over the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping to get it all out before IAE, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So, just doing the same stuff. I stream almost every day. I cover things in depth with a lot of historical context, and I'll just keep doing that for you.
Yep.
Oh, can I add something else?
I
got something else.
No, you can't.
I didn't.
Of course you can.
I didn't plug twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropub live, and youtube.com/theastrohistorian. On the Astro Historian, I have a almost 40-minute long video that I've been working on for the good part of a year on the fate of the original settlers of Stanton. A lot of people don't know that Stanton was actually settled by groups before the UEE showed up. But they just fall off of the lore history books when the UEE shows up. They just disappear. And there's only a couple of different hints. So I went down a rabbit hole of looking through all these different sources to try to see like maybe what happened to them. So it's like a lot of context of what was going on at the time. And it leads to some interesting suppositions, which connects directly to the Citizencon this year, because there is a group that was shown off at Citizencon this year, which I believe might be the descendants of the original settlers of Stanton. So you're gonna have to check that out. It's gonna come out on Halloween Day next itself, so you can go check that out. So
I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was confirmed. I keep talking about it like it's an actual thing.
I do have a request, Paul. I want you to redo the Zeus lore, but you have to get Jared to do it with you. I think it's only fair that he told you to do it, so he's going to come help. Yeah.
He called me out. I'm going to get
so
him to do a.
I'm going to call Jared
cameo.
out. Jared, you're going to go do the lore episode. Maybe do it
I'll
on
be
your
reaching
podcast
out.
with Algrid as
He
well.
has to now.
Yeah.
My people will call your people, Jared, and that will work.
I could just see this
His
guy
Discord mods.
by Jared, and he's like, Jared, you've got a 10:15 and then a 12:15, and yeah. Anyway, right. All right. With that, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And thank you to people that go the extra mile on the credits at the end of the video. With that, he's been Mr. SpaceTomato, and he's been Mr. Astropub, aka Paul Shelley. I've been Execute. We'll catch you on the next one. Say goodbye, boys.
Goodbye, boys.
I have to be so literal.